Once more.
Going to call the Schaumburg Village Board meeting to order for Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. Welcome. First item is, please, if you have any electronic devices, please turn them off. Don't think nobody's going to call you, that they will. I want to ask the village clerk to call the roll, please.
Trustee Bishke?
Present.
Trustee Madej?
Present.
Trustee Dunham?
Present.
Trustee Sullivan?
Present.
Trustee Clare?
Present.
President Daly?
Present. I am going to ask if we can have a moment of silence for Trustee Frank Kozak, who passed away recently, and will be sorely missed. Next item is Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask if you would all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Next item is the approval of minutes from November 8th, 2022. Any questions, comments?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is the approval of expenditures for $12,255,851.04.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve as presented. Any further questions, comments? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Bishke?
Aye.
Trustee Madej?
Aye.
Trustee Dunham?
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan?
Aye.
Trustee Clare?
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Presentations. We have 3 presentations. First one is a presentation of the 2022 DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference Municipal Innovation Award by Chief of Police, right there. What happens when I'm looking down? Whoa, okay. All right, so please proceed.
Well, thank you very much. As this board knows, the village has consistently put in for awards at the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. In the past, we have consistently received award for best presentation. This year, we were very lucky to receive the award for the best innovation out of everybody that put in for the award, and something that we're very proud of. The award was for our real-time information center, and as you know, a summary and a reminder for everybody, the Real-Time Information Center was a project we started about 2 years ago after we received a grant from the Cook County Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. That was through the Federal Urban Area Security Initiative grant. So the money was funneled through the county from the federal government for this project. The project pulled together a bunch of resources: our computer-aided dispatch system, our records management system, cameras that we installed in areas in the Woodfield corridor, cameras that we brought in from businesses that we did partnerships with, cameras that we put on buildings and light poles and a number of infrastructure in the area. It was a pretty big undertaking. Included work by a lot of our departments. The Information Technology Department obviously had a big role in this, as well as we did receive some assistance on various parts of the project with EPW and a number of other village departments. So it was a great partnership, and we're very proud to have received this award. And so with that, I will present it to Mayor Daly.
So it is a glass award.
Try not to break it.
And actually, I will. Yeah, I was trying to say, who gets the whole lot?
Well,
Do we go upstairs here or is it over
I think we could probably share it, maybe 2 weeks each place.
Traveling trophy.
there? Yeah, it's pretty cool. But let me give it Okay, next item is a presentation of a 20-year service award to Christian Jordan. Are you here? No, not right now. Okay, we'll hold on to that. Then we have a presentation of a 10-year service award to Jeffrey Reich? Reich. How are you? I didn't realize the last name. Nice to see you. Let's do this, all right? Okay. Turn this over here like this. Okay. All right. Okay. Next is liquor license requests. We have a request from Ritul Patel for one Class C liquor license for Corner Spot Sports Bar and Tavern. There you are. Please step forward. This is a new license.
Correct.
Tell us what the, well, actually, what I need you to do is, if you wouldn't mind, put your name down there, address. We'll take a minute for you to go ahead and fill that out. And then we will want to know, so this is a new license, but an existing business.
Correct. So we currently do have a license right next door at Corner Liquor
Okay?
for a liquor license, but this is like a bar and tavern for, our local residents around to come and just relax and enjoy.
Okay? All right. Any kind of changes, making any real big changes or anything like that?
No, just, a small bar, people can come and relax, hang out, have some beer. Like a sports bar with games going on and stuff on Sunday
Okay,
with food.
okay. Questions? Trustee Madej?
You're going to be serving food, correct?
So like finger food, like fries and wings and stuff.
Anyone else? Questions? No? Okay. Then you'll need to see the Liquor Commissioner's office, which is also the mayor's office. You're familiar with this, I know,
Yes.
but
Yep.
just for the record, that
Sure.
during normal business hours, get the proper paperwork, background check, and fill out the fee, et cetera, and all that, and then a license will be issued, so.
Okay,
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you so
Good
much.
luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Next item is a request from Ms. Yan Key. Am I pronouncing that correctly? No, probably not. Oh, okay, maybe, for one Class A liquor license for sushi. Sushi, yes. Sorry. My apologies. Please come forward. This is at 8889
Yes,
South Roselle Road.
yes.
Okay, new license. So this is an existing place, existing establishment. You're just looking to take over ownership or change ownership?
It's change the ownership then.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. All right. Planning any changes to the place?
No, because it's the different item then. It's a sushi, before it's a Chinese restaurant.
Oh,
So
okay.
now it's a sushi, just
Okay.
sushi then.
All right,
Yeah,
so no
quite
major
different.
changes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Any
sir.
questions, comments from the board? No? All right, you're looking to have a Class A, all right?
Yes.
So the same as I repeated to the prior gentleman, you'll need to see the Liquor Commissioner's office, which is located upstairs at the mayor's office. During normal business hours, fill out the appropriate paperwork.
Yes.
There's a background check involved, and once all that's passed, then there's a fee to be paid for it, okay?
Sure.
All right.
Yes,
And
sir.
before you go, if you could just sign in on
Yeah,
the book
I
there.
will. Yes,
It'll take a minute for you to do that.
yes, sir.
Thank you. The third one that's on here has been withdrawn. So you're aware. For,
签名了吗？签名
Vicky's,
sign
barbecue
here
pit.
签名啊，对，
Pardon me?
这只是写你的名字，但是你要
They've just asked for it to be withdrawn.
OK。Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to consent agenda. The consent agenda will be read in its entirety. Voted on is one motion to approve. If you wish to discuss an item further, please indicate that when the item is read by the village clerk so that it can be removed from the consent agenda and discussed further under committee reports. Otherwise, all items will be approved as presented on the consent agenda in one motion to approve. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Number 1, liquor licenses. The motion will be to approve the request from Mrs. Mary Alice Benoit of Schaumburg on stage for 2 Class D one-day liquor licenses for cocktail parties on Friday, January 20th, 2023, and Friday, January 27th, 2023, at the Al Larson Prairie Center for the Arts, 201 Schaumburg Court. 2, engineering and public works. A, the motion would be to authorize the village manager to execute the Rodenberg Road from Irving Park Road to Central Avenue improvements, local agency agreement for federal participation, and approve the required resolution. B, the motion would be to authorize the village manager and village clerk to execute an agreement for construction engineering services of Rodenberg Road from Irving Park Road to Central Avenue with BLA Inc. of Itasca, Illinois, in the amount of $530,166 and approve the required resolution. C, the motion would be to authorize the village president and village clerk to execute an intergovernmental agreement for the Rodenberg Road from Irving Park Road to Central Avenue improvements with the village of Roselle and approve the required resolution. D, the motion would be to authorize participation in the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative Contract and award the purchase of 1 Freightliner chassis step van to Trans Chicago of Elmhurst, Illinois, in the amount of $231,000. E, the motion would be to award a bid for vehicle commissioning services to Ultra Strobe Communications, Inc. of Crystal Lake, Illinois, for a term of 1 year with 3 optional 1-year extensions, not to exceed the approved budget. F, the motion would be to approve waiver of competitive bidding and approve an increase for the purchase of motor fuel to Petroleum Traders of Fort Wayne, Indiana, in the amount of $313,205. G, the motion would be to approve waiver of competitive bidding and award plumbing repair and maintenance to Anchor Mechanical, Inc. of Chicago, Illinois, up to $70,000 for the year 22-23. H, the motion would be to approve change order number 2 for the fire station epoxy floor replacement project with F.H. Passion of Chicago, Illinois, in the amount of $79,553.59 and approve the required resolution. I, the motion would be to approve waiver of competitive bidding and approve a resolution authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement for full landscape maintenance with Siebert Landscaping of Bartlett, Illinois, beginning January 1st, 2023, for a term of 1 year with 2 one-year optional extensions not to exceed the approved budget. 3, finance, legal, administrative, and general government. A, the motion will be to approve the finance monthly report for October 2022. B, the motion would be to approve membership in the Illinois Municipal League and that membership dues in the amount of $5,000 be paid. C, the motion would be to approve the 2022 September Fest final report. D, the motion would be to accept the for year 2021-22 municipal compliance reports for the Schaumburg Police and Schaumburg Firefighters pension funds. E, the motion would be to adopt an ordinance making the First Amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 annual budget. F, the motion would be to authorize the village manager to execute a 5-year lease agreement extension at 7744 to 746 Schaumburg Road for the Nursing and Senior Services Division. G, the motion would be to adopt an ordinance repealing Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 112.33 of the Schaumburg Village Code relative to the sale and possession of kegs. H, the motion would be to adopt an ordinance amendment, Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 112.14, and Title 3, Chapter 41 of the Schaumburg Village Code relative to Park District liquor licenses. I, the motion would be to adopt an ordinance amending Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 112.14, and Title 3, Chapter 41, Section 41.01 of the Schaumburg Village Code relative to hotel liquor licenses. J, the motion would be to approve a resolution assigning Henry J. Stuckel as the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund authorized agent for the Village of Schaumburg. 4, Health Human Services Committee. A, the motion would be to approve the 2021 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, and direct staff to prepare the submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, HUD. 5, Public Safety Committee. The motion would be to approve a resolution authorizing the village president to execute an intergovernmental agreement between School District 54 and the Village of Schaumburg. B, the motion would be to adopt an ordinance amending Title 3, Chapter 31, Section 31.029 of the Schaumburg Village Code relative to the creation of a certified police officer eligibility list. C, the motion would be to waive competitive bidding and approve the purchase of body-worn cameras, in-vehicle cameras, tasers, and all associated software, services, and training from Axon, Inc. of Scottsdale, Arizona, in the amount not to exceed $315,000 for the first year and $375,000 for subsequent years. 6, Transportation Committee. A, the motion would be to accept the Phase 1 preliminary engineering plans for the northwest quadrant of the Meacham Road streetscape. B, the motion would be to authorize the village president to execute a service agreement, Route 905, with Pace Suburban Bus for an amount not to exceed $333,811.61 and approve the required resolution. C, the motion would be to authorize the village manager and village clerk to execute a service agreement amendment between the Village of Schaumburg and MV Transportation, Inc., and to approve the allocations of the amount not to exceed $152,578 in ARPA funds for DART driver bonuses and operational increases, and approve the required resolution. D, the motion would be to authorize the village president to execute a letter of an intent with Illinois Department of Transportation to participate in the Advanced Traffic Management System project and approve the required resolution. 7, Building Planning and Development Committee. The motion would be to approve the farmers market expansion and refer the changes to Police Policy Statement 1.106 Old Schaumburg Center Farmers Market to the Committee of the Whole. B, the motion would be to approve an amendment to the municipal code pertaining to temporary signage and direct staff to present the draft ordinance to the Zoning Board of Appeals. 8, Plan Commission. The motion would be to approve a residential PUD site plan approval, PUD size variation, preliminary and final plat approval, and Woodfield Regional Center design review for Everly PUD, South Roselle Road, north of Hartford Drive.
Would like that pulled off the consent agenda?
Yeah, not a problem, we've got it. Thank you.
E, the motion will be to approve a special clubhouse edition for the Winds at Poplar Creek PUD, 1900 Windsong Drive. C, the motion will be to approve a special use to raise fowl for Sacklack residents, 314 Pleasant Drive. 9, Zoning Board of Appeals. The motion would be to approve a site plan amendment, parking variation, additional short-term parking spaces, and sign variation to allow additional items of information for target T-0835, 2621 West Schaumburg Road. 10, traffic agreements. The motion would be to authorize the village manager to execute the traffic agreement by and between the Village of Schaumburg and Northwest Community Healthcare located at 519 South Roselle Road. 11, resolutions. The motion would be to adopt as resolution number R22-096, authorizing the village manager to execute the Rodenberg Road from Irving Park Road to Central Avenue improvements, local agency agreement for federal participation. B, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R22-097, authorizing the village manager and village clerk to execute an agreement construction engineering services of Rodenberg Road from Irving Park Road to Central Avenue with BLA Inc. C, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R22-098, authorizing the village president and village clerk to execute an intergovernmental agreement for the Rodenberg Road from Irving Park Road to Central Avenue improvements with the village of Roselle. D, the motion would be to adopt as resolution R22-099, authorizing the village manager to execute change order number 2 for the fire station epoxy floor replacement project to S.H. Passion. E, the motion would be to adopt as resolution R22-100, authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement for full landscape maintenance with Siebert Landscaping. F, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R22-101, approving and authorizing the extension of an intergovernmental agreement between School District 54 and the Village of Schaumburg. G, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R22-102, designating authorized agent to Illinois Municipal Retired Fund, December 2022. H, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R22-103, approving and authorizing the extension of a master services and purchasing agreement between the Village of Schaumburg and Axon Enterprises, Inc. I, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R22-104, authorizing the village president to execute a service agreement with Pace Suburban Bus for Route 905. J, the motion would be to adopt as resolution R22-105, authorizing the village manager and village clerk to execute Amendment 2 with the Village of Schaumburg and MV Transportation, Inc. K, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R22-106, authorizing the village president to execute a letter of intent with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the installation of Advanced Traffic Management System, ATMS project. L, the motion will be to adopt as resolution number R22-107, declaring the village's official intent to reimburse expenditures, North Schaumburg Tax Increment Financing, TIF District. M, the motion will be to adopt as resolution number R22-108, approving and authorizing execution of a real estate sales contract by and between the Village of Schaumburg and Chicago Title Land Trust Company as successor to American National Bank and Trust Company of Chicago as trustee under trust agreement dated February 5th, 1990, and known as Trust Number 110451-01 for the purchase of 1580 East Algonquin Road. 12, ordinances. The motion will be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-092, authorizing the levy and collection of taxes for the corporate and municipal purposes of the Village of Schaumburg for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2022, and ending April 30th, 2023. B, The motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-093, granting a site plan amendment, parking variation, additional short-term parking spaces, and sign variation to allow additional items of information for Target T-0835, 2621 West Schaumburg Road. C?
C is pulled.
Okay, that's pulled, and that would be an ordinance granting an approval of residential PUD site plan approval, PUD size variation, preliminary and final plat approval, and Woodfield Regional Center design review for Everly PUD, South Roselle Road, north of Hartford Drive. D, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-094, granting an approval of special use amendment to planned unit development PUD for Clubhouse Edition for the Winds at Poplar Creek, PUD, 1900 Windsong Drive. E, the motion would be to waive first reading,
Poll, please.
and that would be an ordinance granting an approval of a special use to raise fowl at 314 Pleasant Drive. Okay, so that F, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-095, amending Title III, Chapter 31, Section 31.029 of the Schaumburg Village Code relative to the creation of a certified police officer eligibility list. G, motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance 096, making the First Amendment to the annual budget for the Village of Schaumburg for the fiscal year commencing May 1st, 2022, and ending April 30th, 2023. H, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-097, authorizing and approving a lease agreement extension between the Village of Schaumburg and Market Square Schaumburg LLC for the property located at 744 to 746 East Schaumburg Road, Schaumburg, Illinois. I, the motion would be to adopt as ordinance 22-098, repealing Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 112.33 of the Schaumburg Village Code relative to the sale and possession of kegs. J, the motion would be to adopt as ordinance number 22-099, amending Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 112.14, and Title 3, Chapter 41, Section 41.01 of Schaumburg Village Code relative to Park District liquor licenses. K, the motion will be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 22-100, amending Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 112.14, and Title 3, Chapter 41, Section 41.01 of the Schaumburg Village Code relative to hotel liquor licenses. This concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. Look for a motion to approve the consent agenda with item A under Plan Commission being pulled off for further discussion, along with its corresponding ordinance, which is item C under ordinances, and with item E also under ordinances being removed for further discussion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question. With item 12E being removed, did Trustee Dunham want to remove the corresponding Plan Commission?
Yes, I did.
So that was 8C.
Yeah, 8C.
You have that,
8C,
Clerk? Trustee Clerk, Marilyn Carr?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking for approval with those items removed. Further discussion, comments? No.
I made the motion, I'll remake the motion with the correction.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Trustee Sullivan, second. All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Bischke?
Aye.
Trustee Madej?
Aye.
Trustee Dunham?
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan?
Aye.
Trustee Clare?
Aye.
Okay, 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Committee reports, we have 2 items that are off the agenda for committee reports. First one is recommendation to approve a residential PUD, which is South Roselle Road, north of Hartford Drive. Okay. Why don't we Commission, right? Yeah. I think we have some idea of it, but Dave, if I can ask you, if you would mind coming forward, just a real brief on what this item is. The board has the packet in front of us. We have all the minutes, all the material that from the developer, so we have the full piece in front of us, but please let us know.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. David Utley, Chair of the Plan Commission. This is a PUD development of 4.3 acres with 35 townhomes that is located on Roselle Road between the Michael Funeral Home and the Mennonite Church. The developer is in the process of purchasing these units. It was a contract purchase. My understanding is they've not been purchased yet.
Can you speak up, please?
Sorry. And village staff and the county have all been involved with the approval process here. It came before the Plan Commission for approval and various variations and things of that nature. Many of the residents showed up and presented their objections. The objections mainly dealt with the landscaping issues, particularly the area along the rear of their yards on Pleasant Walk. It was a very cordial meeting. All the residents were very respectful of the hearing. The Plan Commission voted 7-2 in favor of the approval.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this? Please come forward one at a time. I just want to remind you that we are not rehearing the case. It's already been heard, so we'll take any comments that you've got about it, but we're not going to go through a whole hearing process, talk about issues that you may have.
Okay. First of all, my name is Amy Park. I am a resident of 821 Pheasant Walk, and I've actually polled many of the neighbors, and we have a lot of concerns. Many of them were touched upon lightly at the previous meeting. Some of the first ones are traffic safety. There are a lot of accidents already at Kingsport and Roselle Road. Matter of fact, I just saw one today from my back window. There are also a lot of accidents, and it's a very dangerous corner at Hartford and Roselle. People will rush because there's not a turning lane from Hartford, so there have been a lot of accidents there, including several fatalities over the years. So we're very concerned that adding the 35 townhomes that only have access onto Roselle Road just south of Kingsport, where there's already traffic, and then also for the traffic at Hartford. And it was not taken into account at the meeting that just a half a mile to the east on Kingsport and Summit is a new subdivision of 191 homes, that in order to get to either I-90 or I-390, the most direct route is coming out at Kingsport and Roselle Road. We feel that that could be a hazard. There are some of the neighbors that have said they do walk their animals there, or they run along Roselle Road there, and with people darting out from that area because they're trying to beat the traffic, they may not notice pedestrians, and we feel it is very much a safety hazard. We also, there is very much an issue, there is a loss of habitat there, and I know it sounds crazy. Many years ago, I heard the mayor of Schaumburg speak when they were building Friendship Way, how they wished they had left more green space there because some of the habitat was ruined for the animals. We currently have a great horned owl there, we have foxes, we have geese, we have groundhogs, and a number of other animals, including tree bats. And I know it is a federal offense to remove nesting for tree bats during their nesting stage. So that would be taken out, because the builder, when he said he was going to take all of the trees out from there. We do have an issue with property damage. He was talking about putting a 6-foot fence up along the western edge of the property. Most of the homes there already have a fence, so that would leave an area between the two fences where it would be causing a devaluation of our property, because weeds and things like that would grow. And then the taking down of the healthy trees that are there that provide us sanctuary. And it's also more homes than is currently allowed under this ordinance for 4.3 acres of land. And we feel that that's creating too tight of an environment, and it's not the best thing for Schaumburg.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wish to address the board on this item? Please come forward if you do. Give us your name and address for the record.
I'm Rodney Park. I am Amy's wife. I live at 821. My wife has polled all but 2 neighbors on both sides of the Pheasant Walk. So if there's nobody else here speaking, it's because they've already spoken a lot. There was a comment made that we were concerned only about our property damage. While that is a concern, I have a stone wall, and there's a big tree in the corner that if they take it out, I will lose my stone wall. And there's no guarantee that the developer will and replace it. That is not the major concern, as my wife mentioned. It is traffic. Traffic at Hartford and Roselle is a dangerous corner. You've got 35 townhomes that are going to cost somewhere over $485,000, which is suggesting that they are not going to be single income in the families. Perhaps 2 cars per, that's a potential of 70 additional cars. Plus, as you heard my wife mention, 191 homes at Summit Grove.
Summit Grove is only 149 homes, just so you're aware. It's
Thank
not
you.
191.
Thank you. I stand corrected. Thank you.
149.
Thank you. I stand corrected. I heard 191. That is meaning, and I heard there was a traffic study that's saying there's only going to be 12 more cars at that corner. I would like to have another traffic study done, because I don't see how there's going to be 12 more cars there. But again, traffic in that area is really the major concern. A loss of habitat, our property damage, we'd like to have. Oh my! There was a very good letter from one of our neighbors who gave very specific request, and she gave it to the county clerk. I'm sorry, to the clerk. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Velina Ivanova. I live at 833 Pheasant Walk Drive. Regarding this project, currently the zoning is for single family homes, right? I would like to know, with the current project, do you need to change the zoning?
Not sure. Julie, can you answer that question? Is it actually single family? I didn't think it was actually zoned that.
Well, it's currently. Pardon me, I need to talk into the microphone. Sure. Yeah. Part of the proposal is a zoning change. It's a zoning change that's consistent with the comprehensive plan, but it's a zoning change and approval of a PUD. You can only develop multifamily anywhere in the village as part of a PUD, with the exception of the 90 North District.
Okay.
Okay, I spoke with almost everybody who is actually on this side of the street that is neighboring the development, the future development. If it was single-family homes, everybody's fine with it. Changing of the zoning, it's not fine because there is a denivellation and there is going to be eventually erosion. The landscaping that they actually offer to plant, I think it's not enough. And our yards are not going to be protected. I don't think it's very fair for us, the people that live on Pheasant Walk Drive. So I hope that you can take this in when you decide to vote for this project. I think that there is a better option for Schaumburg and for residents and for the habitat that is there currently. Thank you.
Anyone else? So, Dave, can I ask you to come up and answer, has some of this been discussed? Has the habitat and that kind of stuff been talked about at the prior meeting?
All of these issues were discussed at the Plan Commission, particularly the traffic configurations at Hartford and at Kingsport. Habitat was brought up. It was not, in my opinion, a major issue that was brought up, although it was mentioned. My recollection, and I think the minutes reflect that the main concern was the landscaping, and then a secondary concern about the sidewalks and the ability of people to safely have ingress, egress. But definitely the discussion was about the ingress and egress to the complex. Mr. Dumacek from Michael's Cemetery, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly, brought up certain concerns he had about left turns there, and these are all reflected in the minutes that are there.
Okay. Thank you. Julie, can I ask you to come back up, please, again? Julie is Director of Community Development, oversees this project. So the issue of traffic, can we address that one first? So the developer did have to present a traffic plan.
They did a traffic study as part of the due diligence, yeah.
Okay. And can you give us a little background on that, or fill us in again?
Well, I don't know where the number 12 came from, and that could be someplace. I mean, typically, I will tell you what a typical traffic study will divide the additional traffic up into, hours, peak times, 15 minutes within the hour. So that could have been a reference to that. I don't have that information at my disposal right now, so I can't really say where that number came from. There was a study done. It's reflected in the minutes that the study didn't take into account necessarily traffic generated from Summit Grove, which, as we know, is to the east of here. It does take into account projections, which are accepted projections for traffic into like the next decades. And so it does account for some natural increase of traffic just in the region and on Roselle Road, and that was reflected in the traffic study. And there was nothing in the traffic study that said that this shouldn't be developed or that it would be dangerous. The county is requiring a left turn lane into the development, and so the placement of the access point on Roselle Road is something that the county has weighed into. They've looked at it as it relates to the other access points on the east side of Roselle Road, and so that placement, that's why that is placed as it is. I do know that
the access point is across from the entrance into the shopping center.
It's not actually, it's north of there. There's a couple entrances, at least into that shopping center. One is the right in, right out. It's closer, more across to that one. The full access point that's more centrally located It is north of there, and I believe that was placed so that the left turn lane for southbound traffic into Kingsport doesn't conflict with the proposed left turn lane into this development. The county, I do know the county does have some plans to approve or improve site distances near Hartford along Roselle Road. I don't have any details of that. I believe those are in design stages, but that is unrelated to the zoning proposal that you have tonight.
Okay. Anything else you can add to the comments from the audience?
I mean, the habitat has come up before. I would agree in reading the minutes and listening to the recording that it came up, it wasn't discussed at length. My experience with that is that there's not requirements in terms of relocating foxes and squirrels and owls and things like that. As with Summit Grove, oftentimes the animals, they will be displaced. Sometimes they'll come back, but it's something that happens, obviously, with development. The comprehensive plan calls for redevelopment of the site, doesn't call for preservation of the site. And so staff's position would be that that issue is weighed, but it would be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan to not allow development of the site.
Okay. Regarding landscaping, although it's been brought up, but not as much this evening. So along the western edge, the intent is to put up a fence, wooden fence along the
There's a
western
6-foot
edge.
solid fence that's proposed, is proposed right on the property line. Staff did write into the conditions that are in the ordinance tonight that the fence needs to be placed up enough to allow for some maintenance of, a weed whacker to get up under the fence. There may be some concerns about maintenance between two fences that are placed together. We see that throughout the community. I think staff weighs that with the requirement for a solid screen for these two land uses. The single-family land use and the multifamily land use do require a solid screen. And so we didn't feel that we should recommend removal or not providing that solid screen. So there'll be the six-foot fence. And then the properties to the west, the single-family properties are several feet higher than the multifamily properties to the east that's under consideration tonight. So the fence would be at the top, and then there is a slope down to where the townhomes would be located. And all along that slope, there are trees going in along that slope. Those trees are going in, the evergreens are going in a foot taller than it's required by code. The shade trees are going in at the size that are required by code. And they are exceeding, I don't have it in front of me, I think it's about 9 or 10 additional trees that are required by code. There was a lot of discussion at the Plan Commission hearing about the landscaping. There was discussion about changing the landscape plan, but none of those items were added as conditions by the Plan Commission, which, as you know, is the advisory commission.
Is there fencing around the whole property or just part of it?
There is just fencing on the west side of the property.
Okay.
I believe.
And that fencing, and so there will be a homeowners association established for this property?
Correct.
Okay. And that's their responsibility to maintain that fencing over time?
Correct.
And any landscaping that's approved has to be kept and maintained. So if they put trees in and 2 or 3 die over the next couple of years, then they would have to replace those.
Yes.
Per the code. Okay, and they have to maintain that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and the intent is to remove the landscaping that is considered not long-term viable. Start with some fresh landscaping.
Yeah, the majority of the tree removals are due to the need to grade the site. Because there's just a lot of grading that's needed to prep the site for development, commercial development or the multifamily residential development. There are some trees being saved along the south property line. They're kind of right on the property line between the commercial use there and this use. but by and large, the majority of the trees are coming out. And the majority of them are nearing the edge of end of their life. Are there some that are in good condition? Yes, there are, but their landscape architect looked at it and ours looked at it, and we felt like the removals that are proposed and the starting over with the newer landscaping will eventually provide a better neighborhood and then a better screen for the residents to the west.
Any further?
Not unless you have questions.
All right, before you go, any questions from the board? Trustee Dunham?
Yeah, a couple of things. Julie, bottom line, after this is completed, it sounds like you're saying that there is going to be more and better landscaping, trees, et cetera, on the property once this is built than there is currently, right?
I think that, well, I think that they're going to go in and they're going to be smaller.
Well,
but
of course, they have to start out smaller.
I think that, I think what I would say is that some of the trees, particularly on the west property line, are nearing the end of life. There are, and I looked at it today with the landscape architect from the village, and there are some evergreen trees that could be saved along that west property line. There's a cluster of them that could be saved, and I believe it's noted to be in fair condition now. But it would require construction of a fairly tall retaining wall. And when you weigh kind of that with the screening that is going in, we also have this retaining wall, which could be a burden for future residents to have to maintain. And that's really just in one cluster. It's not all, I'm not talking about all along the west property line. There is a cluster of evergreens that could be saved. However, the developer would need to build a large wall that would then be maintained by the future association and homeowners.
Concerning the traffic, it's been alleged that folks from Summit Grove are going to be, or if they're planning to go east or west on I-390, are going to be traveling through Hartford Drive in order to get to Roselle Road. Wouldn't it make more sense for them, or wouldn't it be more likely that they would go south on Summit to Biesterfield and then west on Biesterfield to Roselle, as opposed to journeying through yet another subdivision?
I'd have to pull the traffic study because I think it's likely that there was some amount of traffic that was allocated to go west on Kingsport out of Summit Grove, but I don't know that percentage in front of me. During the review of the Summit Grove, it wasn't expected to have any kind of a meaningful impact on Roselle Road.
I don't recall it either, and I looked at that pretty carefully. As far as habitat's concerned, it's always a question for me when something new is proposed and people complain about it. The first thing that I'm interested in knowing is, you know, when you bought whatever house you're living in now, did you have any concern for the wildlife that might have been, you know, needed to be relocated by it? Or is that just a concern currently, and was that not given thought when before? I see an inconsistency there.
Anything further?
No.
Anyone else on the board? So it sounds like there's been concern, and I'll try and see if I got this correct, been concern over the landscaping, and I think there's attempts that are being made to basically improve what the landscaping is there, although it will not be certainly older, mature trees in there, but certainly newer ones that, should they not survive and being planted, they'll be redone. The Homeowners Association will be responsible for ensuring that they do come up, and staff, of course, will be checking on that also to make sure that's done. There's a fencing to provide some protection from this development into the other with solid fencing in there, so, and the site differences and the elevation will help in some of that. Traffic out onto Roselle Road, traffic is always a question mark. Be nice if Summit was, or the Summit Grove was already up and operational, and we could see what some of that is. We'd be able to take actual numbers, but we can't. So we don't know. But based upon past history and based upon where people are today, not working as much, I can tell you that the Schaumburg office vacancy is at 35%, a historic 35%. People are not going to work. They're not leaving their homes. They're working from home. So I think the volume of traffic will be minimal. Providing with a safe left turn lane into the subdivision should help. You know, I'm not seeing that this traffic there is going to be that major of an issue. Yes, there's quite a few in here. So I'm not sure the exact number of units. I lost track of how many units are in there, but, you know, 36 units or something 35. Like 35. So I just don't see it as being a major issue there. People use the proper caution. Roselle Road is tough. I actually personally come out from Omni Drive, so I'm well aware what traffic is on the Roselle Road. It's where I enter and exit off of into area where I live, and that one's on an uphill. So you're actually uphill trying to see that traffic coming up at you. So I don't see that as much of an issue as being explained. I think that pretty much kind of addressed what the questions were. Anyone on the board have any other comments? No?
If there were to be a motion, it would be based on what the recommendation is. It would be to accept the recommendation of the Plan Commission, waive first reading, and approve as ordinance 22-101.
So, yeah, I'm going to ask now, normally we've allowed the audience to speak, then the board speaks, so is there someone that has another comment that you want to make from there? Okay, that has not spoken, so please come up. All right. Give us your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Alia from 837 Pheasant Walk. Can you guys hear me?
Last name?
Sheikh.
Okay.
Whether it's built or not, I just wanted to mention that it's not going to have a playground. Considering there might be young children and families moving in there, the only playground they're going to be able to use is the one on Pheasant Walk. And in order to get there, they're going to have to walk alongside Roselle, past the liquor store. There is a right turn into that parking lot, and there is no left signal out of Hartford onto Roselle, and that causes a lot of chaotic traffic all the time. So just out of consideration for the children that will be using that playground, I'm a mother, and I can't imagine hauling my children along all that chaos. So if maybe they could knock down one townhome and put a playground, no matter how small there, I think it would help. Thank you.
Would you sign my log?
Julie, was that discussed at all at the?
It was, yeah.
I see there's a big Outlet C, or what I'm calling Outlet C, but what is that Outlet C?
Does the developer want to stand up and describe the use of the Outlet C?
Please come forward.
The detention area.
Okay. Same thing, give us your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. Greg Collins with MI Homes, 2136 Citygate Lane, Naperville, Illinois. The HOA will be maintaining that open space that you're referencing. That is actually an underground vaulted system. So rather than jump through some hoops regarding the code requirements for detention in Schaumburg, which limits some walls, given the significant grade change. We've got about 20-plus feet from west to east here, so we've been trying to accommodate, and the stormwater has been a challenge. So it's one of the ideas was to vault the tension. That, in turn, makes it more efficient from a stormwater standpoint, but the flip side of that was actually then creating that open space that you're looking at. So we're able to then provide that pocket area of open space that's, passive in nature. We've got a walking path that runs north to south to connect both ends of the development. And in talking with the Park District, they have no intention of owning and maintaining a park in this location. When we suggested that we will have a small open space feature for our residents that we'll own and maintain, and ultimately we would provide a cash donation in lieu of any kind of land donation. They were said that's ideal, given the project size being how limited it is in size. So
the park was not interested in taking on and maintaining any kind of
open space, no, correct.
Open space here, but this area that I'm referring to, which is basically center front at Roselle Road,
right,
is would be a grassed area.
Correct. There's limitations of what you could put on top of there's actually vault in the ground. Yeah. So in terms of some softscape and some benches, which doesn't have any type of deep footings, there's real limitations on what you can put there. So it's real passive in nature.
Yeah, I can see that here and there. Okay. Julie?
So if I can add, thank you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to provide a little bit more context to the park. So the way our planned unit development ordinance is written is that they are required to provide passive and active recreation both spaces, but that can be waived if they're in approximate distance of a quarter mile to a park. That obviously needs to be evaluated. So they are within a quarter mile distance of a park. That park is on the east side of Roselle Road. Staff recommended approval of the waiving because there was a park just a little over a quarter mile distance. As measured, as the resident said, they can't just cut through as the bird flies. They do need to walk around and access it. And that park on the west side of Roselle is slightly over a quarter mile, but there is another one on the east side of Roselle that is within the quarter mile. And so staff recommended approval, and Plan Commission concurred, of the waiving of the active recreational portion of the requirement. I thought the developer may be able to speak to whether that could be contemplated, because knowing that there's the underground detention in that area. I also wanted to clarify, I went back to my seat and looked at the plans, there's fencing on the north and south sides of the property as well, so I wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Trustee Madej.
Is that fencing solid and 6 feet also?
Yes. Yes.
Anyone else on the board? Did you have something
I just wanted
additional?
to add that the 6-foot fencing, because most of our properties rise up above that, 6-foot fence isn't going to do anything to block their view of us or our view of them, because we're higher than that. Our basement is probably higher than where the middle of the fence would be, our bottom of our basement. So because we're up above, they're going to be able to see into us, and we're going to be able to see into them. So double fencing just seems kind of crazy.
Understood. I do think that with the fencing, at least provide some protection and some of a buffer, and the homeowners association will be responsible for it. So they'll have to take care of it, maintain it. If it's falling down, if it's not damaged in any way, it's their responsibility. So there is some plus to having that there. Other comments?
One positive note for the elevation, having the grade lower than the west side residences, it's a good thing that the water's going to drain away from them, so their yards won't be,
Well,
flooding.
this development will take care of, make it a positive drainage down to at least to the retention that you were referring to, or the vault, as you called it, so, okay. All right, if there's no further comments from the board, I'm looking for a motion.
I would move that we accept the Plan Commission's recommendation, waive first reading, adopt as ordinance 22-101, granting approval of residential PUD, site plan approval, PUD size variation, preliminary and final plat approval, and Woodfield Regional Center design review for Everly PUD, South Roselle Road, north of Hartford Drive.
Second.
So motion and a second to recommend approval. Any further discussion from the board? Will the clerk please pull the board?
Trustee Bishke.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. There is a corresponding ordinance to go with that.
He
Oh,
covered
that was part of it? Okay, all right. My mistake. Therefore, at this point, the project is approved. Thank you. Next item is, that was asked to be removed was special use for the address of 314 Pleasant Drive to raise fowl. Trustee Dunham.
Yeah, I thought we had an ordinance that didn't allow this, and just was looking for some additional clarification from staff.
They are prohibited unless, raising of chickens or fowl are prohibited unless approved as a special use. There is some precedent. In the mid-'90s, there was a special use approved. The address, I believe, is on Wakefield. A specific address would be in your packet. And it was for 20 chickens and a rooster. That special use was valid for a number of years. The resident currently, and I'm not sure when, stopped the raising of chickens. We recently paid a visit and chatted with him briefly. This has been the second case that was formally submitted for evaluation.
Questions? So this would be the only active one, so to speak.
Yes.
Because the other one's no longer in operation.
Yeah, and there were no conditions placed on the other one for monitoring or inspections, which staff recommended in this case. So just periodically, we would pop in and talk to the homeowner or chat with the neighbors to see if there were any issues. We hadn't done that in several years, and so back when we were evaluating this case, we popped in, and the homeowner said that I think he has just gotten older and chooses not to do that anymore, and we talked to the neighbors, and they verified that as well.
So there is a number of conditions on this, obviously to keep the coop, to their own benefit, to keep it clean, sanitary, but to limit the number, keep the number at 6, 1 duck, no roosters. Any other questions or comments?
The recommendation doesn't include the duck.
Well, the staff recommendation was actually to deny the duck. The Plan Commission voted unanimously to.
Yeah, so it's in the ordinance.
I read the wrong.
Does agree.
Okay, I read the wrong now.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions, comments? No? Yes.
One addition, and also in there's a condition that if they were to move off, sell the property, that it would no longer be allowed. So that's
correct.
another condition that's in there.
Yeah.
And also, because it's my neighbor, I'd like to recuse myself from this.
Okay. Sounds good. Questions, comments? Trustee Madej.
My understanding during our conversation on this, that ducks are just as noisy as roosters.
So are geese.
So are geese, of course, yes.
Yeah, I got them coming
No
through.
duck goose on this one.
Come through my neighborhood.
I don't know, I feel like I'm okay with chickens, especially in today's times. People are trying to save money by growing their own vegetables and things like that, and I think chickens aren't a bad idea, but I'm not too sure about the duck, because they do make a lot of noise. I'm a little concerned about that.
I can't imagine 1 duck being a problem. Me personally, if you want to raise chickens, I think you ought to be on a farm.
Well, the duck and chickens are going to be talking to each other, and they're not going to understand, so they're going to keep repeating themselves.
Okay, any further questions, comments? Look for a motion on this one. Where are we here?
We need to accept the
thank you.
recommendation, the Plan Commission, and waive first reading and adopt as ordinance 22-102, granting an approval of a special use to raise fowl at 314 Pleasant Drive.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
There's a second. Motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Bishke.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Nay.
Trustee Dunham.
No.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Clare is recused.
President Daley votes
President
aye.
Daley.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Failed to
Four
pass.
votes. It doesn't pass. It needs 4 affirmative votes as it's voted.
Okay.
Could we give them leave to return if and when the sixth position is refilled?
You follow that?
Yeah, I did. What I would suggest is legally, if it goes to a final vote, you can't do that unless the fees are waived. They'd have to reapply, but the board could move to continue the matter to, my understanding is that there may be an appointment on January 10th, I believe. So the matter could be continued to January 24th for the final vote.
You okay with that?
Full board.
So what would we need to do for that?
There would have to be a motion to continue the matter. It has to be to a date certain because it's a zoning matter, so it would be a motion to continue
January
the
24th?
application to the January 24th regular village board meeting.
If you're willing to do that, I'm looking for a motion.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Will the clerk please pull the board?
Trustee Bishke.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Clare is recused, excuse me.
You can vote on that. It's not
Aye. I'm not sure if this is the forum for this, I recuse myself for obvious reasons, but asking Lance,
So in a situation like this, there is no, in my opinion, common law conflict that would prohibit you from voting unless you felt that you were not able to adjudicate the matter fairly as a board member. But you're not automatically disqualified simply because you're a neighbor to this property.
okay, so,
So it's up to you, basically.
We've got a motion,
Okay.
a second, and approval to refer this matter to January 24th.
So how is Jamie voting?
He's voting in favor of referring to the 24th.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this time, who's the petitioner? Okay, this time, so does this become a stay on this until then?
Well, it's pending, they're not allowed without a special use, so you can't have them unless you have the special use, and they don't have the special use, so, correct. They don't have permission.
Well, but our common practice has been that if
Right.
someone is, if we took enforcement action based, and worked with the resident based on receiving notice. And so our common practice has been to take active enforcement action. We would continue with that
It's an
typically.
existing condition, and they're going through the
Yeah.
process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that answer where you're at? Basically, to sit tight until January 24th? Okay. All right.
Can I just ask what's going to happen in January that would be different than
Yeah,
what's
so
going on here?
there will likely be another trustee that is on the board because of the passing of Frank Kozak, there are only 5 trustees at this point. And at that point, if an appointment is made by the mayor and that appointment is confirmed by a majority of the village board, there will be a 6th trustee.
And if I can address the issue of the duck being loud, she is not loud. She is
Okay,
allowed to
we know what noise ducks make. They're in the pond out here all the time, so. yeah. Okay,
So it's continued to January 24th.
January 24th. Okay. All right. That's all for committee reports. Comments from the audience, if you have any items you wish to discuss with the village board, please come forward. That's pertinent towards the village of Schaumburg. Okay, seeing none. Council report.
Yes, I do have one matter, Mayor, thank you. It is that time of, one of the times of the year where we need to do semi-annual review of closed session minutes to determine whether there are any that no longer need to be preserved from public access. Those minutes have all been reviewed, and at this time, village legal staff is recommending that no additional minutes be authorized for release at this time. So I ask for a motion that the village board approve the semi-annual review of executive session minutes and that no closed session minutes be authorized for release at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Anything further?
No, nothing further, Mayor. Thank you.
President's report. So I have a few items to read into the record. First one is thank you to Chief Wolf and the police department and all that they did to help in the funeral procession for Trustee Frank Kozak a week ago or so. Do appreciate that. They did an excellent job in protecting everyone as that procession moved through town. So thank you very much. This one is to Peter. Let me see, make sure I got this right stuff. Yeah. To Peter Schack for the Digital Cities Survey. The award, this Digital Cities Award, I've got it down as awarded November 17th. Is that correct? Where's Peter? Okay. So you've already got the award? Okay. I've been holding this. So since then, just to be able to mention it. So at any rate, we received first place in the 2022 Digital Cities Survey for all the work done on being a digital city in the category of population up to 75,000 at the time. So, and this is in reference to 2020 prior to the census update to population of 78,000. So you're going to enter a tougher group, I assume, next time. All right, thank you. I received a letter from Charles Falk, and it's a little lengthy, so I won't go into the whole thing, but let's see, he makes reference about the fact that him and his wife have aged, they're having some difficulty carrying out some of the tasks around their place. They attended the local senior resource fair that was held at the barn a few weeks ago, back in mid-November, so it's probably held around the 1st of November. They encountered several people and organizations there that perked their interest, and one of the people was Marina, I always get pronounced, Lovich, Senior Services Manager for the village. Anyway, they spoke with her, she understood their needs, helped them out, and he was just really excited that it was like a perfect match. She was able to give them some guidance and make some recommendations for them. So they've engaged a particular housekeeper to help with some of the work that they need. And consider it a real find, and very happy, and wanted to say thank you to staff for doing that, in particular Marina. So thank you very much.
Charles writes a great letter, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He really does. So I didn't do it justice by any means. And then our own Brian Townsend has been appointed to serve on the Illinois Municipal League's Revenue and Taxation Policy Committee. It's good we have, as Brian tells me about joining all these things, it's good to have somebody there representing the village. Every time he convinces me to join something. I always claim it's just to keep me out of the village.
Of course.
Yeah, probably is what it is. Any rate, so congratulations, Brian. They wouldn't do it if they didn't think you were important to have on there. Lastly, I have another few sad words. Shortly before we lost Trustee Kozak, the Schaumburg Park District lost a former longtime commissioner, Mike Daniels. Had served on the commission for a long time. He had stepped down in 2021, moved to Arizona. Prior to that, as I mentioned, he had been on the Park Board, but he'd also served on Septemberfest, and as I recall, it was like 10 years, a long time. Yeah, he chaired it, and was a great person to know. He was on the committee for 20 years, 12 years as chairman, I guess, and involved in a lot of things that went in at the Park District that we all take advantage of, and sometimes you don't realize these things that people do. Much like Frank would tell stories about his involvement in Septemberfest going back to the original 70s when the fest was first started behind his house in the park, Campanelli Park. And Mike did a lot of those things. He was involved in development of Olympic Park. We worked with him on a number of things. The Schaumburg, beautiful Schaumburg Golf Club that's out there with Chandler's and everything else is Mike was involved in that. So sorry to hear about that, and but you're all aware, I believe, of Mike's passing, and they recently had a memorial for him on Saturday that was very well attended, so sorry to hear that. That's all I have. Manager's report?
I have no report.
Okay. New business? Nothing under new business. Unfinished business? Nothing there. Trustee comments and mentions. Trustee Dunham.
Mike Daniels was also known for, I think, a quote that is going to outlive him considerably, that Septemberfest was a backyard barbecue for 250,000 of your closest friends. And he used to say that all the time. Yep. I would like to commend Chief Wolf and Chief Walters and their staffs for the Christmas parade that they did this past weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it because I was elsewhere. But those who mentioned it to me said that they thought it was fantastic. And a lot of hard work by you guys, especially in a week that had been kind of trying, and it was extremely well received.
I saw them over at, what's it called, Bella Terrace? Terrace Bella, whatever, I can't think of it now. Over there at Roselle and Omni Drive, and I saw them over there, so they're pretty excited. It was kind of a cold day to be out.
It was. And one other thing, if I may, there was some very fast paving work done on Meacham Road between Higgins and Golf. That is an excellent job. The pavement, the striping, they finished it in, gosh, what, 2 weeks? Didn't take long, and
shows you what can be done, right, George?
It shows you exactly.
We won't name who, but
yeah, a certain county could take a serious lesson from this. That when things fall into place, how fast it goes. But they did a great job.
Thank you, George. Anything else? No. Anyone else? No. Next item is an adjournment. Just a reminder, we only have the one board meeting this month, so there will be no board meeting. I'm not sure what the date will be, but 27th, I guess, right? There will be no board meeting that time. Look for motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Thank you very much.